Nosferatu coming in at number 10, starring Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Bill Skarsgård, Adley Taylor Johnson, Willem Dafoe. There's a few other people. Those are the main ones. For the most part, I had a really good time with this movie. I know it seems like it's low on the list, but I'm trying to do this list, in the order that I think it's rewatchable. I don't feel this movie is very rewatchable because once you've watched it one time, you've kind of seen it all. Overall, though, I did have a pretty decent time with it. It's still in the top 10 list for me, and it's the most recent one. But no, it's definitely worth a watch. Like, the cinematography is great. The use of the shadows is really cool. And if you know the story, great. If you know the books, it's even better. And overall, I think most people had a relatively good time with it. The acting performances are great, and some of the special, not just the special effects, but just like the makeup artist really knocked it out of the park with this one. That's why this one will be number 10 for me. Dune Part 2, the continuation to Dune Part 1, is going to be number 9 for me. It has Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, Austin Butler, Dave Bautista, Florence Pugh, all sorts of people in it. It's like a huge sci-fi epic, and I kind of liked the books. What failed for me in this movie is its rewatchability. Once I've seen it once, the spectacle was kind of gone. Like, it was cool to see the giant sandworms. There was, like, some of the dialogues are right. Zendaya as Chani doesn't really work for me. She's way better in the books. The way that they did his younger sister, I didn't really care for that. And it's one of those things that, like I said, once I've seen it one time, I didn't really have any inclination to want to watch it again. I'm hoping the third movie will be really good too, but as far as this goes, this one sits at number 9 for me. Strange Darling was an interesting movie by J.T. Molnar. It also stars Willa Fitzgerald, who plays the lady, and Kyle Gallner as the demon. And I liked this because it's an indie movie, and it's told out of sequence. It's told, it's like 3, 4, 1, 5, 6, something like that. I can't remember the exact order. But the way that it's told and the cinematography and what they were able to do with what they had, I thought worked really well. I think more people should have seen this movie. It was a really good watch. It's something that I could see myself watching again and having a good time, maybe catching other things that I actually missed in it. And for the most part, it did its job. It did its job at number 8. So this is going to be at number 8 for me. If you guys have not seen this movie, I would recommend checking it out. It's a pretty short movie. It's a pretty easy watch. It's also pretty straightforward. And I also still want to give some love to indie movies. There might be a couple more indie movies on this list. But if you have not seen this one, I absolutely recommend this movie. Go check it out. Wicked is going to come in at number 7 for me with Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jeff Goldblum, Michelle Yeoh, and people like Jeff Goldblum. There's a few other actors in it. This one, I thought I was going to hate it. I do not like musicals. And there's people calling me Soyfax, which is actually hilarious. By all means, anytime I like some weird movie like this, handle it, man. It's great. But I'm a musician. Some of the music in it is really damn good. The story's not that bad. And for how insufferable they were on their press tour and all those terrible interviews they did, their acting was good. I'm not going to sit there and deny that. And people could be like, "Oh, it's a mid-movie." I would say it's too long. There's only like 2 songs overall that I like in it. It's probably something I'll never watch again. If it's on, I'll be like, "Hey, I hope you like it," or something. But for me, it's number 7 because mainly it surprised me. I think this was one of the bigger surprises of the year because it's something that, as we're hearing about it, I'm like, I don't like musicals. And then as you're seeing the press tours, you're like, oh God, these people are insufferable. And then I watched it and I was like, I didn't hate it. And there's like 2 songs in it that I liked. So I'm like, well, okay. So I actually enjoyed it. And maybe that might tell you how bad some of the other movies were this year. That it's like someone like me who wouldn't be into stuff like this. This managed to make my top 10. So Wicked comes in at number 7. If you like musicals, check it out. If maybe you want to be surprised, check it out. If you hate it, just don't watch it. It's fine. Sonic 3 will be coming in at number 6 for me. With the returning cast of Jim Carrey, Ben Schwartz, and then the addition of Keanu Reeves, we got Idris Elba as Knuckles, James Marsden's in it, a bunch of the returning cast from the last couple movies. The reason it's coming in number 6 is I thought some of it was a little childish. Also, I don't have as big of a connection to Shadow as people do. I like the design. I like Keanu Reeves as him. I liked the beginning of the movie and kind of the end of the movie. The storyline in between didn't really get to me. And honestly, I thought Jim Carrey was a little too ridiculous. I thought they went too childish with it. But I understand. And on second viewing, I actually liked it more than my initial review. So that's why it comes in for 6. That's why it comes in number 6 for me. Because it's still a good movie. I would recommend it. I would have no problem rewatching again. I've already rewatched it when I thought that I wouldn't. And I had a better time with it the second time, but it's going to have to be number 6 for me. Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, come on, what's not to like? We got Deadpool, we got Wolverine. Of course it's number 5. No, I mean, some people might have it higher on their list because it did really well this year. We finally got to see Wolverine with the full mask. I mean, it's like there's a lot of this that had like, nerd dreams in it. We got to see Wesley Snipes back as Blade. You got to see, and that's it. No, I'm kidding. We also, Daphne Keene. There's a bunch of cameos. It's pretty damn funny. I will say this: the initial pop of watching it the first time does die down the second time you watch it, because like a lot of the fun cameos and all that stuff. Well, now they're not as surprising, but it's something I think I could easily rewatch. I've seen it a couple times since the theater experience, and I still like it. Like, it's something that if it's on, I'm not gonna get mad about it. I'm just gonna continue to watch it. I don't think Marvel learned their lesson from this, like they should. But for me, this movie sits at a 5. It's done well. The action scenes are fun. Hugh Jackman is back in form. He's always stayed like that. I mean, the guy, he's Wolverine, and they just have a ton of fun cameos in it, and it's an overall good time, good movie, lots of fun. But for me, it stays at number 5 because, well, there's other movies that I would prefer to see more. Coming at number 4 with some of the most rewatchability and a lot of fun with kind of an original story is going to be Transformers 1. Like, this thing basically got tanked by its trailers. Those trailers were awful. It almost looked like it was going to be like a show or a movie for 5 to 7 to 8-year-olds. It's not. There's a lot more heart and a lot of love that went into this. The story seems very original. I don't know if there's a comic out there that does it differently. Maybe there's a cartoon that I'm missing. I don't fully keep up on this, on Transformers lore. But goddamn, it was good. Like Chris Hemsworth, Brian T. Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan Michael Key, or they basically play. Their names are slightly different at the beginning, but then they end up becoming, Megatron, Optimus, Elita One, Bumblebee, and there's a bunch of other big name big name actors who are also voicing these characters, and the story about like what happened on Cybertron, and I just thought it was really well done. I've actually seen this one probably 3 to 4 times now, and just because when I show it to people, I'll be like, "I'm gonna watch this with you," and they're usually down to watch it, and everybody's had a good time. Like there's some good little fun laughs in it, and even rewatching it a few times, I've liked it a bunch. So I definitely recommend this one. That's why it comes into number 4 for me, because like I said, this might be my top 10, but I'm looking at this as like rewatchability, and I think this one is very rewatchable. I wish it didn't tank as bad as it did, because I would have loved to see what they do with more of it. I hope that they see the feedback that is all positive towards it, and we get more of this, or more in this vein, this type of style and everything, because I thought they did great with it, and it could be interesting to see where they go forward with it, because there's a lot to do there. Now, some people can complain about the voices. I thought for the most part they did just fine. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys do too if you check it out. But anyways, this comes in at number 4. Art the Clown is back, and he's coming back at number 3, as in Terrifier 3, because this sits at number 3 for me. They bring back Lauren Lavera, Sienna, David Horton is Art the Clown, or Thornton, my bad. And Damien Leone, of course, is rocking with it. And I just wanted to make sure that I give love to these, like, independent horror movies that are doing really well. I think this type of franchise is bringing back, like the horror movie genre in the indie scene, and it's lifting it back up. Like, there, because horror movies do pretty well, but this guy started pretty low with some of his stuff, and all of a sudden it went from, like, 200,000, or he made, like, 200,000, and he made 500,000, then it made, like, this one made like over 30 million. These things are escalating. And I remember seeing a podcast where he was like, dude, I'd like to do Jason. I don't know if I want him to do Jason. I like him doing his own thing, but it shows that, look, the indie scene is still alive. There's people who follow this stuff. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I've liked it every single time I watch it. It's gory, it's crazy, and it is definitely not for everyone. I just like to support this person. I've been watching these movies since I've been aware of them, and I feel they've gotten better and better. The lore is a little crazy, but for me, it comes in at number 3, mainly because I'm a horror fan. I needed some good horror on here. There are some other good horror movies that came out this year. They'll probably be more on, like, the I don't know, recommended list at the end. I'm going to do a little list at the end. If you followed this far, I appreciate it. But Terrifier 3 comes in at a number 3 for me for my top 10, because I just like this movie. Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dastmalchian, Laura Golden, Ian Bliss, and the young girl played by Ingrid Torelli. There's a few other kind of more indie actors. Like I said, I'm going to be highlighting some indie actors in this because I loved this movie. I didn't realize how much I liked it until I've seen it like half a dozen times. I just like this movie a lot. It was directed by Cameron Carnes and Colin Carnes. And, like, what a ride. And for how well it's done, it's like a TV host in the 70s, and the way they set it up, the way it's filmed, everything about it makes it feel like it was done back then, but with today's, like, imagery. Like, I think there's only like a couple, like, I would just say cheap effects in it, but it's extremely entertaining, and I think it gives David Dastmalchian like a time to shine. This guy's been in all sorts of stuff. Like, he played Polka Dot Man. He was in The Dark Knight. Trust me, you've seen this guy all over the place. If you've not seen this movie, go see this movie. Give it a shot. Watch it all the way through. It's kind of crazy. And it's kind of a horror movie. It's a psychological horror, but at the same time, it's just a good watch, man. Like, I can watch this all the time, anytime, and I had just a blast with it. And I was surprised that when I was going over my list, I was like, I really, really like this movie. I liked it more than all the other ones you've seen me talk about. Like, I would watch this over pretty much all those just because I appreciate it. I appreciate it more. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the acting in it. I appreciate the story in it. Like, it just kind of draws you in. If you have not seen this, if you're a horror fan, definitely see this. If you're not a horror fan, definitely see this anyways, just so you can maybe expand your knowledge and, like, how this like how indie works, because indie does do a lot more horror because it's a little cheaper to do. And give some of these other actors a chance, because some of them are pretty damn good. And in this one, I think pretty much all of them nail it. Their parts are really damn good. Um, it's a little. There could be parts that I could see that are wonky to people, but I mean, I had a blast with this movie every single time I've seen it, and I hope you do too. And this would be my numero dos, number two. Coming in at the coveted number one spot of what I would recommend. And I know people don't watch a bunch of anime. Well, maybe not everybody that follows me. Maybe they do. If you do, this movie is for you. This movie is great. Solo Leveling has an unabridged version of the whole first season of Solo Leveling. Watch it, and then you get the first two episodes of the next thing. I have not seen an anime that does this. People say that this happens. If you watch my review, I also say this and that. I say those exact things in that review. I love this. I love this experience in the theater. I've seen it a couple times. I've seen this anime a couple times. I just had a great time with it. I had a blast with it. I was surprised at how much fun I had at this movie. I was just to see the anime action on a full screen and just the sound and everything. It's like, oh man, I wish I could be watching all the episodes like this all the time. This was my most fun that I've had in the theater this year, like just for myself. Like there was stuff like, Deadpool Wolverine, that was fun with the crowd. This for me on a personal level was the most fun that I had. This was like I enjoyed myself thoroughly through the whole thing. I didn't leave my seat. I didn't have to go up and use the bathroom. I didn't want to go grab a drink. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to watch it all. If you're not in anime, it might not be for you. This is probably an odd choice out of all the other choices that have been going on. I understand. It's all good. This for me, this did it for me. I had a blast. I just had such a good time watching the character develop. I'm hoping season 2 keeps knocking out of the park, because they gave us like the first 2 episodes of it. And it's like, wow, is that even really a movie? It's like, well, for me it is. And if not, then look to my number 2 choice, because that movie is also great. Late Night with the Devil. But if you're into anime, this is a must watch. And if you want to get somebody into this, have them watch this, and it'll jumpstart them right into where you're at real damn quick. It gives you all the juicy parts real quickly. And yeah, I had such a good time with this, and I was very surprised. It makes me want to go watch more anime stuff when it comes out in theaters, which I think is a plus, because I'm a big fan of that stuff. So yes, Solo Leveling for me was the best movie I saw this year. Unless I was going to sit there and say Godzilla Minus One, that was like kind of re-released at the beginning of January, because that would just beat everything. But that actually was more in 2023 in December. So I don't think that counts. But this would be number one for me for the end of the year. I don't know. Check out my list. Give me your list. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me which ones you think I'm right on. I would appreciate it. And I will give some honorable mentions here in a second. Thank you for checking out my list. And you guys have a great start to your new year. And for some honorable mentions, there'll be Smile 2, which was pretty decent. Obviously, you can see here there's a bunch of just kind of more horror movies. I like horror movies. Smile 2, it was pretty good. It's a decent watch. It's a little long. It was not my favorite. It had really good sound design in theater. When I rewatched it at home with some friends, it didn't hit as hard. But it's worth a watch, and where it's possibly going could be interesting. Now with Abigail, their marketing also did really terrible by telling you that she was a vampire in the marketing. Because I remember I showed it to my mom, and she had no idea about what the hell this was going on. And when the little girl turns into a vampire, she was like, "Oh shit!" And it's like, yeah, you should have done that because everybody would have liked it a lot more. I don't know if as many people would have went to see it initially until people are like, you got to see the twist. That would have been a smarter move, but it's a fun movie. There's some kind of fun parts in it, and you could just tell that they're having fun with it. The substance, Margot Qualley and Demi Moore are like, they're killing it in it. It's a really good movie. It has a lot to say on Hollywood in itself. I just felt the end was a little too pretentious for me. There's people out there saying it's the best movie of the year. I don't see it that way. If anything, I would actually probably put it at number 11 though on my list. And Fall Guy was just fun. You want just a fun goof around like action movie? Fall Guy was fun. Every time I've seen it, it's just fun. When people have it on, I'm like, all right, there's some gnarly action with some fun music going on. It's just a good time. And you know what? Sometimes you just need a good time movie. And that would be where my list ends off. Thank you for watching. If you like this, you know what? This is the first time I'll probably say this in my videos, but hit like, subscribe. That'd be great. You know what? And I'm going to try to get better at all this stuff. And thank you for watching. Peace out.